So for the last 20 minutes of this session, we're going to turn it over to Lindsay, who has developed a really great activity for us to show our ideas or show where we are on about some key topics or opinions without using our mouths. And I'm going to give it over to him to describe this in greater detail.
Hey, so I used to be a field science educator and teach kids in the forest, and I thought about it. Okay, so, and maybe I'm taller than Paul too. So I used to teach kids in the forest, which was a lot of fun, and I think about that a lot as I sit in front of a computer. So I would like to get another form of feedback from folks. Thank you for taking the time to fill out the form. And this feedback is not just for us, but also for everybody here as a group. So what we're going to do is ask some questions or basically make some statements about certain values we have in relation to some of the important questions about what we do. And I'm going to ask folks, don't move yet, but to stand along a line as a continuum between where you feel, where you agree with the statement, either 100% on one side or 100% for the other version of the statement, or somewhere in the middle, based on your feelings on that. All right? I want to say that I'm not judging you by where you stand. I think there are good reasons to stand anywhere along this line. And so there's no like secret right or wrong answer. No one is going to get kicked out for like standing anywhere. All right? And I also want to ask that people withhold judgment as why somebody else is standing somewhere based on assumptions we might have about the statements. So the statements are intentionally somewhat vague. So please use your own interpretation in deciding where you want to stand on this continuum. And also recognize that somebody else may be interpreting it different or may have different considerations, so don't judge them from your assumptions as we do this activity. Are there any questions right now about that general framework, about this line, and that we get to stand where we want along it based on the statement and whether we agree with it? All right. Does this work now? It's on over here. Okay, so this is one extreme of the line, and we're going to use the blue line right here, so you can't go beyond this. This represents 100% agreement with the first statement, and over where Malia is standing is 100% agreement with the other statement. So don't move yet because you don't know what the statement is. So, if you agree 100% with this statement, and I'll read them both twice, that the legal system is part of the problem, 100% agreement with the legal system is part of the problem would be standing here. You can be along this continuum all the way to where Malia is standing, which is the legal system is part of the solution. So the legal system is part of the problem, the legal system is part of the solution. Be somewhere in between. If you don't understand the question, that's okay, just stand where you think you belong. So take a moment to look around at where folks are, and I'm going to ask, let's see, I'm going to ask for this group over here, and you all can decide whether you're in that group or that group, to come up with a position statement on why you're standing where you're standing. This group in the middle, and actually make two groups in the middle, so maybe one here and one here, but you may all kind of be doing the same thing. Why you're standing where you're standing. And then over here, which I understand that you're not along that extreme, but go ahead and come up with a position statement on why you're standing where you're standing. Take 2 minutes as groups to do this. So this is just a rough idea of like what's the most valuable thing to know about why you're where you are. Go ahead. And we're going to start over here with the group that was closest to the legal system as part of the solution.
Hello? Is that on? Okay, so, my name is Jim Tripp, and us three were talking about, well, the question was, or the statement was, the legal system, and if it would have been the current legal system, that might have sent us further that way, and maybe not, but a system of laws that is responsive to our needs and desires seems like a good end goal as opposed to the absence of a legal system. That's where we're coming from at this point.
Well, we were the biggest group, so we had a lot of diversity, but I'm just going to read a couple of them. This is the system we have. It's a legal problem that we have, so we're going to need a legal solution. Systems, no systems work, people work systems. To answer, we need to, this question that was put before us was too broad. All it did was bring up more questions.
So while we strongly agree with this side and acknowledge this side, the middle wasn't comfortable and we more align with this side. Okay. Yeah. We didn't get that far. We just have less confidence that that would actually work.
Well, I can talk about this. So I'm speaking mostly for myself. We didn't have enough time to actually figure it all out, although we think that the legal system needs to be kind of like turned upside down. But the point I made is that we need to go from a human-centered jurisprudence to an earth jurisprudence, which situates humans firmly in their ecologies. And you're not just speaking about the future of humans, but the future of all our relations, of all living creatures on the planet.
Thank you all for sharing in your groups and also for people being spokespeople. We're going to do another one. So on the left extreme over there is working with regulatory groups weakens our efforts. And on the other extreme over there, working with regulatory groups strengthens our efforts. So over there, working with regulatory groups weakens our efforts, and over there, working with regulatory groups strengthens our efforts. I'm looking at people's faces, and people are a little hesitant to move, but go ahead and move. Go ahead and take 20 more seconds to get where you need to be. We're going to debrief this one in a little bit of a different format. So I'm trying to figure out where, so from right here, sorry for arbitrarily picking you. Everybody on this side, go ahead and put your hand on your head. One hand. And everybody on this side, please find somebody with their hand on their head, and together engage in a discussion where your point is to understand the other person's position, not convince them that you are right. Go ahead and do that. Are there more of them?
There's more of them than them, and so me, as one of us,
Yes.
the head thing.
I couldn't do my math back. If you have not yet both had a chance to share, please switch and make sure that the other person has a chance to share their perspective. Thank you. All right, thank you. Sorry for interrupting your conversation. If you could give me your attention again, that would be great. And you can hear my voice class once. Thank you. Thank you all for engaging. I hope that was helpful to some extent. We're going to do one more. On this extreme over here, stopping frac sand mining or substitute the corporate harm for your community if it's not frac sand mining. So stopping frac sand mining is a greater priority than creating local community self-government. And on that extreme over there, creating local community self-government is a greater priority than stopping frac sand mining. So again, stopping frac sand mining is a greater priority than creating local community self-government. Creating local community self-government is a greater priority than stopping frac sand mining. Please go ahead and move. So please take 10 more seconds to move to where you want to be on this line. There's a lot of people who are going beyond the line, which is a very interesting position to take, you extremists. Oh, so at the blue line is creating local community self-government is a greater priority than stopping frac sand mining. Beyond the blue line is unexplored territory. And over there was stopping frac sand mining is a greater priority than creating local community self-government. I want to remind folks that your answers to these questions, can depend so much on your own experience, on what is happening in your community, on the urgency of the issue versus kind of the theoretical of the issue. For me, working on frac sand mining from Port Angeles, Washington, it's a purely theoretical harm. Because I know you now, it's no longer theoretical. So what I would like to do here is I would like folks to volunteer to share from your perspective where you are on this line. What works when people from other perspectives on the line talk to you, and what doesn't work? So Daniel's looking at me with eyebrows. So if Daniel is willing to share, when you hear people talk to you about this issue of what's a greater priority, what resonates with you, what works for you when they're talking to you about that, and what turns you off, right? So folks over here, what turns you off when people say we have to focus and prioritize the right to local community self-government? And folks over there, what turns you off when people over here say we really have to stop this mine? All right? So take 20 seconds to think about that for yourself, and then I'll see if anyone's willing to share.
Carol Poise.
Closer.
Okay, got her. One of the reasons that I'm standing here is, and I think a lot of us that are standing here, is because it's the immediate threat. A lot of us would not be here if it hadn't been for the sand mines to begin with. So to me, this is number one. It's the immediate threat, and that's what we got to look at.
I'd just add to that as much as I value the perspective from that end and that important work, I think there's more time to let it happen, to have it done. Once the bulldozers come in, like Carol said, there's an urgency here because it can't be undone.
The urgency for me is I am going to have the biggest sand lot in my backyard. It's connecting my property, the one that was just signed on Tuesday. So that's why I think it's really immediate. Not only that, in the Bible, and not in mankind, were to protect human earth, Mother Nature. And we're failing desperately. And we're letting other people run our lives for us, where we should be in the pursuit of happiness. And it's not happening. And if we can't be happy in our homes, feel safe and well-being, then we're just losing it. Thank you.
So I apologize that not everyone is going to have a chance to speak on this who wants to. Since I put Daniel on the spot, I'm going to do him, and then we'll do one other person from this area and one other person from the end.
I want to look in the other direction in the time scale that, authentic democracy and local control are supremely important in the point of what we're doing, but if the, political systems come and go, but the water table is going to be poisoned for hundreds of thousands of years and beyond the scope of what we're trying to do politically if we don't stop the frack sand mines.
I understand the urgency of frack sand mines. It is very urgent, but I don't want to stop with frack sand mines. I want to keep going because there will always be something else.
One last person.
Okay, so I'm here because, the question was what resonates with me. So when people talk about the ecological realities of water pollution and air pollution and the arguments of the urgency of that really resonates with me, and I think resonates broadly across the board with everyone since we all need to breathe and drink water and things. And what doesn't work is that when the urgencies are coming, sometimes there can be almost an ends justify the means mentality that starts to creep in, and so we have to be careful of that, I think.
Okay, so I hope that this activity raised some hopefully positive discussion, some reflection. It's okay that we stand at different places along these lines. What matters is that we continue to engage in a dialogue about these things. So we intentionally planned this right before lunch if folks are interested in continuing to talk about this more. Thank you for playing. I'm going to turn it over to Layla to just close this session.
Thanks, everybody, for your willing participation. Thanks so much for listening to us and for giving us all this great information and feedback.